Welcome to Vibes of India. I'm Janvi Sunaya, and today we are here with the latest segment of How I Made My First Million. Today we have with us Shaival Desai, the director of Petpooja, and we'll try to understand his entrepreneurial journey and how he made his first million. So, Shaival, welcome to Vibes of India.
Thank you, Janvi.
And to start with, please tell us something about Petpooja. What is the business model all about?
Okay. So Petpooja is essentially a restaurant platform, right? So a restaurant requires multiple technology services, right from billing to inventory management, staff management, expense, all of that. So there are multiple facets to running any restaurant. So we provide the complete solution for them to manage their entire outlet or even chain of outlets, right? Today we power around 25,000 outlets all across India, right from independent small outlets to outlets with over 100 chains like La Pino's and Have More, Thalapakatti, all of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, were you sure that you wanted to get into business, or you were also a confused kid who was finding directions?
I knew I wanted to get into business, but I would still say that that counts as confused because just business doesn't mean much. So
Yeah.
even though I knew I was going to start something of my own someday, I didn't know what it was going to be in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are all the things that you tried before getting into Petpooja?
I am by education, I'm a mechanical engineer.
Okay.
I came back from the States after finishing my bachelor's. Then I did 2 levels of the CFA, which is a financial analyst curriculum. I loved finance. And even then I was really clear this is not where I was going to work. I learned finance so that I could, one, manage my personal finance, and second, manage the family office, right? After that, for 1.5 years, I worked literally as a farmer. I grew cucumbers and colored capsicum. Agriculture always had a calling for me. I rented 9 greenhouses and just went with it. In the end, I ended up producing around 350 tons of cucumbers and around 100 odd tons of capsicum. While I love the business, I made a couple of foundational mistakes during the early days, because of which I had to make a choice whether I was going to do this for a while and struggle with it. And at 22, I wanted a more fast-paced business. Agriculture,
Okay.
if it's a
It needs a lot of patience.
Exactly. If it's a 9-month cycle, you can't do anything to make it in 5, right? So I was very clear that, this is not the right time, but I'm always going to go back to it. So having said that, then I went and interned at a venture cap fund. The startup scene was heating up. I wanted to see what the fuss was about. So I went and worked with a venture cap fund in Mumbai for 3 months. Having worked there, having seen what I was seeing, I was clear that I wanted an operational role and not an investment role. I wanted to get my hands dirty, right? And so I came back and enjoyed Petpooja.
Yeah. But for many people, it is very difficult to change careers. Was it easy for you, or was it not?
It actually is fairly easy for me to change careers and change tracks because that's what I've done my entire life. So, right from being an engineer to a financial analyst to an agriculturist, I learned machine learning on the way. Over here, even at Petpooja, the kind of teams I handled on day one are very different from the kind of teams I handle today. So, I have learning something new or trying something out of my core area of expertise is something that's it comes fairly naturally to me. Obviously, it takes some time to, develop your muscle in a new area, but I'm never afraid to try something new. Yeah.
Okay. And now I think it's been 5 years that you are with Petpooja. So what made you join it and stick to it for so long?
We knew that we were building a foundational business, right? So in that, when I joined, it was really small. There were 20 people stuffed in a 400 square feet office. Today we're a team of 480 and we have 4 offices, right? And but the point was that I could see from day one that this is something A could scale and B could scale profitably. Okay. Right? And so I always thought that this is the kind of business I wanted to be in. And third, I always saw that everyone in the organization was committed to innovation, right? So even today, I mean, we have just piloted with a robo that we have deployed for that we have developed for 3 years at Lapinos, which is actually serving orders at a restaurant,
Yeah,
right?
very interesting.
So now, being a software firm, most software firms don't get into hardware, and over here at Petpooja, I never saw those restrictions or you can't do this, right? So yeah, I mean, I've always loved experimenting with newer technologies, and I found that here, and obviously the core fundamentals of business were good, so stuck with it.
That's right. Okay. And through all these years of trial and error, what are the business lessons that you've learned and you would like to stick to that?
So Parthiv, who's my mentor, kept telling me one thing, which is in hiring, he always used to say, check for attitude before aptitude, right?
Okay.
And which means that whether that person is a cultural fit, whether that person can, whether he's a nice person before him
It's
being
IQ or
before anything else, right? And I have violated this rule 3 times, and each of those 3 times I have, it's come back to bite me. So I think this is a core tenet that.
How is that he or she is a person?
Correct, and it's happened 3 times that that when I've hired people just because their IQ or their talent and them not being nice people, it's always backfired, right?
Okay.
And I've learned the lesson the hard way, but this is something that I'm going to carry with me for my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your father, like Shaival Desai, is also into multiple business. So why did you join him?
One is the type of businesses and never excited me.
Okay.
And two, I did not want to work with my father. I think is a constant friction in terms of how we do things. Very fundamental generational differences on how things are done. How people cite irreconcilable differences as a reason for divorce. We have irreconcilable differences in the way we do business, right? So I mean, we both have our own paths. Yeah, and we both, when we are home, we are happy. We don't have to fight on 5 things. So I like it better this way.
But what are some of the ways in which how you look at business and how your father looks at business are different?
He has a much more macro view on how business is conducted, and I have I actually like to go into a process, and I'm very extremely process driven, right?
Okay.
And I think that is a rift in how we do things, and so.
Okay. And then tell us that considering your brand like Petpooja, a lot of things might have changed for it due to COVID. So how has it panned out for you?
So during the lockdowns, it's been really bad. When restaurants hurt, we hurt, right? And I think restaurants have during the phase of lockdown, they've really hurt. So during lockdowns, it's been difficult. But I think it's also there's a wave of digitization which has gotten into Indian businesses post lockdown. I mean, you look at 80-year-old grandfathers using Zoom, right? And which is something that you never thought would happen. So even if you look at the reports, in terms of e-commerce purchasing penetration, what was going to happen in 2023 has already happened in 2021.
Yeah.
So I think that wave really helped us because restaurants really looked at digitization with a positive angle, that if we do this, we're going to get some benefit out of it, right?
Okay.
And I think the fundamentals of the restaurant industry also changed. Volumes increased but margins decreased, right?
Because that's very important.
Exactly. So aggregator volumes went up, and aggregators take commissions, because of which any business that comes through aggregators has lower margins, right?
Okay.
Obviously, they bring in a lot of volume. They help restaurants that way. A lot of restaurants wouldn't have survived had it not been for aggregators, right? Having said that, as margins decrease, costs become a larger need more consideration, right?
Okay.
When you have 50% gross margins, you really don't care if you save 1%. But when you have 5 to 6% is a 20% jump in your margins, right? So when restaurants started caring about that, which is when they started needing a software to streamline operations and to iron out operational inefficiencies, right?
Okay.
So we saw that post lockdown, we've actually onboarded, the monthly onboarding of restaurants has increased significantly, and we are at our peak numbers that we've ever been at.
Yeah. And you're also operating out of Gujarat.
Yeah. So we are in 110 cities across India, and we are also in the UAE and South Africa.
And how is Gujarat's market different from the other market? Like, are there any specific things that you would attach to
Well, not really. So interestingly enough, Gujaratis have been quick to adapt to technology. I would give them that. Yeah. So I mean, at par with all metros, I would
like anything
say.
that works for business, like Gujaratis would adopt that.
Would adapt, and they would not mind. Gujaratis have always been open to experimentation, right? So. एक बार जो ही लइए is the kind of attitude they're going to have. Let's see if it works or not. And I think that's why, I mean, we are very happy we started out from Ahmedabad. It's not a very usual place to start a startup per se, but we're glad we're here.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And Shaival, in all these years of changing careers and then sticking to Petpooja, when did you earn your first million, and how was that journey?
So I technically earned my first million when I was doing agriculture, because I mean, one season the rates were great. The rates of selling kheera kakadi, right? So those rates were great. Okay. I got some 35 rupees a kilo or something, and there was a huge produce also. So that's when
Your patience paid off?
For one season was really good. So I still remember that. But
you must be just 25 or like...
24-ish, yeah.
That's interesting.
And at Petpooja, I mean, we obviously I've been working here for quite a while, so even over here I've earned that. And I also invest money in. Yeah. So although I know a little bit about the markets, because my family, I'm a big proponent of mutual funds. Okay. So I'm a very disciplined investor. Okay. Right, so I have my monthly outflows, it's automatically deducted, and I never see it again for 5 years. That's the kind of investor I am. Wow. So,
very patient again?
Very patient with the stock market.
Okay. Yeah. And otherwise, how do you look at money, in the sense, like, are you someone who would like, let's focus on work and then not look about the results, or would you plan? Like, what are your strategies when it comes to generating more money for the business or for yourself?
So personally and for the business, I think views are slightly different. For the business, it's just, I mean, you do good, you're going to get recognized. If not today, 2 years down the line,
your work will pay off.
Work will pay off. And second, I mean, business, these funding headlines now are becoming slightly ridiculous. I mean, we strongly believe that at the end of the day, it is all about the bottom line, right? Not saying, I mean, top line doesn't matter or gross margins don't matter, but 5-10 years down the line, when you look at an HUL or an ITC, you look at EPS, earnings per share, or profit after tax, right? So every startup today, even though they look at revenue, tomorrow we'll have to look at PAT. So we believe that, and PAT comes through good work. Consistently good work is when you're going to get a profit after tax, because that's how people reward you, right? Yeah. So from a business perspective, it's just about doing good work and money will follow. I mean, you will, if you have a right team, you will know how to extract revenue from whatever you are doing. Yeah. Right? It might not be today, might be at a scale, might be at 4x today's scale, but you will figure it out.
Yeah, it's all about time.
It's all about time. It's all about time and consistency, right? And for personal investments, I mean, again, I'm very aggressive. So I personally also invest in startups, and I don't like assets which are not productive. So land, gold, I do not invest in, even though it might, and I also don't invest in things I don't understand. So cryptocurrencies is not something that I understand. I mean, fundamentally I understand it. I have seen Bitcoin at $11. Right now it's at 50,000.
But still you would not invest in something.
I don't invest in that. That's also something that I've learned. Don't deal with things that you don't understand. Right? And yeah, I'm not going to touch it.
True. And lastly, tell us what next for Petpooja. How do you want to expand it? A lot has already happened due to COVID, but now what's next?
So, Petpooja, two expansions. One is we are very vertical focused, right? So, getting deeper and deeper into the restaurant ecosystem itself.
Okay.
So, while we are providing software for complete management, we also started a complete suppliers hub where restaurants can actually go and discover new products, discover new suppliers that, paper napkins are available at 2 rupees cheaper somewhere else, right? So, getting
We
deeper
want to
into
integrate.
Exactly. So integrate with the other vendors and get deeper into the ecosystem. Second is something that we are exploring is horizontal, right? So now that we have done restaurants, and when I say restaurants, we have done everything right from food trucks to cloud kitchens, cafes, bars, all of those, right? So our software is fairly robust in the terms of in the types of catalogs and billing that it can handle. So now we're also looking at aligned industries.
Okay.
So retail would be another industry that we would be looking at. And but the immediate 6 months are just putting our heads down and expanding sales. I think that we're very clear. We want to get from 25,000 to 1 lakh.
Okay, great. We wish you all the luck.
Thank you.
I hope when we meet next, your targets are achieved.
Perfect.
And thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
And we'll come up with more such interviews on Vibes of India. Thank you so much.
Thank you.